Hello, my friends. This is Dave Sharpe. Welcome to Wake Up Legendary. And this morning, we are going to be talking to a retired school counselor who's going to be sharing her strategies to launch online at any age. Now, keep in mind, my friends, all of our guests here on our show are actual clients who are coming on to this show to share their experience. They're not being paid. This isn't scripted. It's not prepped for. And I've not talked to our guest backstage or in any other capacity unless they've been on the show before or unless I've seen them at a mastermind event. Besides that, this is 100% real and authentic and transparent, and we are all here to learn together. And on the topic of learning, well, yes, as I said, this morning's guest is a retired school counselor who is going to be sharing her strategies for getting started online at any age. Jill, welcome to the show.
Hi, Dave. Thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. Where are you calling in from?
I live in Vermont, chilly Vermont.
Okay, well, I thought it was chilly down here in Florida. We're pushing up into the 60s, and so we're
Oh,
getting a little chilly down here. That probably is shorts weather for you, though, huh?
oh, yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah. Yeah. Just a sweater and a pair of shorts and flip-flops. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. When the AC goes below 72 down here, I get chilly. So just a different breed of humans. Well,
Absolutely. I could not make it down there. I could not survive.
I understand. I understand. Well, it's so good to have you here. Anybody who works in the school system or our medical system, I consider the best of what America has to offer. And we often thank our military veterans for their service. And I think that's certainly appreciated. But I think it's also nice to thank our teachers and our nurses and so forth for their service. So thank you for your service to our children and society. What brought you to Legendary? How did you get here? What were you looking for? And do you feel like you may have found either all or at least part of what you're looking for?
Oh, boy, Dave. It's been quite the trip for me. I worked in education for over almost 30 years, not quite 30 years, not all that time as a school counselor, but in different capacities. So you really get to know school systems. And I worked in several different schools, most of the time in one particular school where I retired from. But I loved what I did. I loved working with the kids. What I found was that where I was working, this isn't true in all schools, but we just had like a revolving door of administrators, and you really can't do that and create positive learning environments and a good school climate and culture, which are all important. So after a number of years, I burned out. I couldn't do it anymore. It was starting to impact my health.
Mm.
And so I retired, and yet I knew I couldn't really afford to retire because I got a 10-year late starting. I was a stay-at-home mom for about 10 years
Mm.
prior to, well, yeah, I mean, I had my undergraduate degree in education and business education, but I never taught. And I got married, had a kid, and was a stay-at-home mom, was dealing with an anxiety disorder, frankly.
Mm.
And it took a number of years to get that kind of under control. And so I could return to work, got divorced. I mean, did you want to hear the story of my life? I mean, were you really dying to hear this? Oh, God. So anyway, I had to go back and get my master's, and knew I didn't want to be in a classroom, but I did enjoy working with kids. So the school counseling thing. But so when I was 62, that was it for me. I had to retire. I couldn't afford to retire because in my state, the retirement system is better now. When I retired, it was like the 47th worst in the country. So between that and Social Security, I was not going to make enough to retire, and I knew that, but I
Mm.
couldn't do my job anymore. Anyway, I retired, and my district hired me back in another capacity to work part-time. So for the next, I don't know, 7 years, I mean, I'm still working part-time.
Mm.
And fortunately, where I am now is totally different. I'm in a school. I'm not working as a school counselor, but it's just 4 hours a day, and I work for the loveliest people on the planet.
Mm.
But it's still, I'm going to either have to work, Dave, until I drop down dead, or
Mm.
until my brain completely leaves me, and I then become a burden on somebody. So I had been looking online for a very long time to find something that I could do from home and be my own boss and have my own thing. I tried a lot of other things. I sold, it's a really high quality skincare products, but it was an MLM. I didn't know what an MLM was. I'd
Mm.
never heard of it. And it was a disaster. The products are great. They're horribly expensive.
Yeah.
So that was a bust. And I created a page on my Facebook account for to be a college consultant, which, because I have that training, I know what I'm talking about there. But again, how do I market that? I had no idea,
Mm.
not idea one on what to do.
Mm.
So it was, like about a year ago this time, I was scrolling. I came late to the party as usual. I discovered reels, and I'm there, man, these are really interesting. Look at this. They're very addictive. And
Mm.
I saw this young girl who was talking about this online affiliate market, and I had never heard the term. I had no clue. So I thought, and she mentioned, now here's the thing, she mentioned Legendary Marketer. And I'm there, okay. So I did what any good educator would do. I looked you up. I
Mm.
researched you. I Googled you, and I thought, is this guy a scam? Is this all bogus
Mm.
BS? And oh goodness, it wasn't. So I'm there, all right then. All right. I listened some more to stuff, and I thought, I think I can do this. So
Mm.
I bought the challenge, went through the challenge, and I love it. Bought the blueprints because I had to, because I have no tech skills. I still don't have any tech skills. God help me. And so, yeah, I am not giving up, and it's starting to pay off. And
Mm.
I get that my niche people are in a totally different age group than they're not the single moms, that are just flocking here to get stuff. These
Mm.
are older folks, and you help me out because I think it's a different sell to them, and I'm
Mm.
still figuring out my way through that. But I don't know. So you tell me what I should be doing that I'm not, maybe.
Well, I think that, I had this question. We just got done with a mastermind in Orlando, and, somebody came up to me and said, can I do this if I'm not a, young stay-at-home mom, who's dancing in videos and looking all like a spring chicken? And I said, gee whiz, what a question, what an
Mhm.
honest question, and what an important question that is, because we do see so many young people getting involved in this now. And for all my, millennials and all my baby boomers and everything on here, do you blame them?
No,
I mean,
no.
just we have to just pause and acknowledge the young people for a moment, and just kind of, be happy for them, congratulate them. I mean, so many of us, I wonder, and I bet would have loved to have found something like this when we were in our 20s or 30s, or raising our children when they were young. And so for those of you who are, older millennials or your baby boomers, before you just start to overwhelm yourself with the thought that, that it can't work for you, or that you're too late to the party, or you're too old for this, let's first, and I'm not talking to you, Jill, specifically, I'm just talking to everybody, because certainly there's people of all ages who are in our community. And it's such a powerful thing for us to be happy and excited for all of our young people, first and foremost. Now, second of all, the way to reach the older demographic who may identify more with you is to acknowledge what young people, what smart people are doing right now, and to try to educate our older generations, our older millennials, our baby boomers, that there is something that they can at least look into. There are some skills that they could possibly do from home, on their computer, on their phone, to generate some extra income. And while certainly we have some training and resources we are going to point in their direction, we didn't invent this. They're not joining a business. They're not joining an MLM. They're not, coming in and, going to be on our team. It's really about upgrading your skill sets. It's really about stopping saying, I'm old and I don't know how to work this, because every time that you say that as an older person, and trust me, I just turned 40. So yes, I'm much younger. I know but guess what? I just turned 40 and I never thought that I would be 40. I started this when I was 24. And so there's even some things that sometimes trip me up, because guess what? There's 20-year-olds out there that are playing video games and doing things, but I can't make the excuse that I'm too old or I can't figure it out. Because if I was to say that, guess what? It's only me who I hurt.
That's right.
And so that, I think, is the message that we need to share if that happens to be your niche and you're wanting to reach an older demographic. But isn't that the message to the older demographic, no matter what product you're selling? You're talking to them and letting them know. For example, my father, 67 years old, 68 years old, just had a giant heart surgery this year, had complications, and he needed to be assured that life wasn't over, that not to give up, that he's got plenty of life ahead of him. So it was a similar message of, hey, we can either get results or we can make excuses for ourselves, but we're not going to be able to have both. And especially if you're older, you're going to have to use some of that wisdom. And if you still do have brain and body left, it is still your responsibility to be able to take your life bull by the horns and learn these skill sets. And as an educator and somebody who's in education, this, that life is an never ending learning process.
Right.
And there is still hope. And, at the end of the day, Jill, that really is all we can pass along to our friends, whether they're young or old, is hope that, hey, there's hope for you, but ultimately you have to make the decision whether you want to just give up on life or if you want to still fight for and you know what? You and I both know that it's not always in the destination that all the glory. It's also in the process that we stay sharp. It's in the process that we grow. That is my message to all of the older millennials, all of the baby boomers. Does that resonate with you?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, thank you for that validation, because that's when, a lot of my videos say just that in similar ways. Because I'm going to be 73 in March. And I tell people all the time, this is not an excuse. If I can figure out how to do this at my age with my limited tech skills, anybody can do this. And as as a school counselor, I mean, my stock and trade was getting kids ready for college. And it's hard to look back and realize, God, that was a lie. That was really a bill of sales that we all bought into and pushed on to all these kids and parents that didn't need to go to college. College is not for everyone. I mean, that's a no-brainer. I've known that. I've preached that since always. And college was never meant to be something that everybody goes to. It was never meant that way when when it was first created. But we have evolved to like, you're going to get nowhere if you don't have a 4-year degree. Well, I'll tell you what, I have a son who's older than you, and he quit college. It was not, but he is making, a 6-figure income. He's doing just fine. He has some very technical skills, and he works in the nuclear power industry, and he's making big bucks and loves what he does. So it's not a requirement, and it's not an excuse. I have a niece that has just started college, and it's and God love her, she's going into some kind of medical field where you really kind of need that training.
Yeah.
But it's like, geez, if I wish that I had known about this sooner. Oh my
Yeah.
God, my life would be so much easier. I mean, my business is, I've been at this, I think I bought the challenge. Oh God, I think it was end of November, beginning of December last year. And then it took a while to get through it because my coach, my business advisor, was in South Africa and kept having power outages, the poor guy. So I didn't get it finished. I don't think, and then I bought the blueprints maybe in January. And it took me, even with Ryan's help, God, it took me like a couple of months to get my system set up. And that was really, really difficult for me because I am a technology, which is odd because I've worked on, I spend my day on the computer doing is very specialized educational, software. Is very huge. It's very elaborate, but it's very, very different than my affiliate marketing systems. So oh God, that I can't tell you, Dave, how many times I had to walk away from the computer almost in tears saying, I can't do this. But I am stubborn, and I had this, I knew it was legit. I knew people were making tons of money doing this. And I thought, if they can do it, there's no reason why I can't. I am not going to let this beat me. And I'm going to go back there and figure this out. And I did. I did. So I consider that I've only really been posting consistently since end of March, April of this year. So, it's coming. Oh God, can I tell you, this is something not to do. I listened to you say this on one of your videos, that when you start your business, people are going to come out of the woodwork, and they're going to want to friend you, and they're going to want you to be their mentor and their guru. And so, oh God, yes, that so totally happens. And so this one guy, who shall remain nameless, messaged me, and in my own defense, I thought he was a legendary guy, and I'm not sure that he wasn't, but I thought he was somebody that you had worked with individually. I can't even, and I said to him, I said, oh, are you the so-and-so that worked with Dave? And he laughed. He said, no. But by this time, we were messaging back and forth, and oh my God. So he was very kind. He said, well, so I just want to help you with your videos, Jill. He says, so do this, don't do this. I noticed you do that, don't do that, do this, da, 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 da. Because before that, I had made a couple of, small commissions. I had like 2 or 3 people that had bought the challenge. I started doing what he suggested, and it died. Things just died. They just stopped. It's like crickets. And I did what he said for like 2 months. So there's goes May and June. And I'm there, wait a minute, this isn't working for me. Maybe it works for him. It doesn't work for me. So I went back and was doing what I was doing before, and things started picking up. So I have like a 2-month, I figure, a stoppage, somewhere. So it's still building now, and it's just starting.
Did he ultimately ask for money, or what?
Well, he was very kind about it. I knew even then that, yeah, he was going to try and sell me something. And he did, but I'm buying anything else. And by then I was like, no, I don't know what your deal is, works for you, friend, but I'm in a different thing. So it's not going to work for me. And so that's a cautionary tale for folks. Do not do what I did.
Yeah.
No.
And how, I mean, if you could summarize what you did in one sentence, what would it be?
Oh, no.
get sucked into a one-on-one private conversation with somebody who is not clear about their intentions.
No, no, he was really quite upfront. He was a nice guy. I think he was really legit.
Mhm.
And I can't, Dave, I got to tell you, my short-term memory is just pathetic because I am old. This is why the technology is so hard for me. So I couldn't
Yeah.
tell you specifically what he asked me to do. And he was very kind, and he would check in. His were like these, audio messages on Messenger. And he said, well, a lot of yeah, so I see you do this, but you need to do this and make sure don't sell. And a lot of, and I was them there, well, what am I doing here? I'm just trying to do the basics. I mean,
Yeah.
because I'm a talking head. There's no way I'm going to start dancing around the screen and, wiggling my rear end. So I'm a talking head on there. And it just like, because I think the reason it didn't work for me was because it wasn't me. He was really kind of asking me to be something else. And
Okay.
I only know how to be me. And
Yeah.
that's another thing I do on my videos. And I tell people this, I'm a retired school counselor. You're going to get the raw, brutal facts from me. I am not going to blow smoke up your, you
And
know,
so, and I think what I'm hearing from you, and this is a great cautionary tale for everybody to listen to and learn from, is that when people hit you up in your direct messages privately, isolating you, it is dangerous. You should be very cautious, okay? Very cautious, everybody, because you are now on the internet. And in coming out here, in going into business and beginning to put yourself out there on the internet, you are now exposed to all of the people, and everybody's got an agenda.
oh
Okay,
God.
everybody's got an agenda. There is
Oh,
not a single person who is going to direct message you in your private messages. Friends, oh, I'm feeling, oh, there is not a single person who is going to direct message you out of the kindness of their heart.
right.
Just come and check in on you on how you're doing. They have something to sell. They want you to go and move in the direction that they want you to move in. And my friends, we have to be cautious. We have to be careful, not only to guard our wallets and our money, but we also have to guard from distraction,
Yeah.
because as you said, we can be picking up momentum, beginning to move forward in a certain direction, and now all of a sudden, whether it be a shiny object, and that's exactly what shiny objects are, is we get involved in other people's agendas. And now all of a sudden we're off to the races. They're our new guru, they're our new mentor, they're our new coach, and they also get us believing that we need them, when the truth is I love what you realized from that, is that you have everything inside of you that you need to be successful. You always have. And quite frankly, you probably, well, undoubtedly deserved much more money than you owned, but we all know about the public school system, and there's just not very much money there. Um, so I want to actually shift over to what I think would be so helpful for you and anybody else. And that is that we love to see people on the internet being their authentic self. And for you, being a 73-year-old retired school counselor with so much experience and so much wisdom, and also I love your very opinion, your opinions on, and your experience looking back at college. Who better to speak on the topic of college, and how we're so often looking for scams on the internet, when the reality is, oftentimes the scams can be being pushed by society and leaders in our community. And as a school counselor, you were only doing what you were told and trained to do.
Yeah.
And so it's not you, it's a systemic issue.
Oh,
And what was appropriate for post World War II or even pre-war or during war, where people had to go and be trained to be order takers and prepared to work in factories and things of that nature. If you look back at the history of university and college, it was all actually invented, at least in America, to support war. It was there to support war, right? And to prepare people for war, and to prepare people to work in factories, to build artillery and things of that nature. And so, we're using 60, 70, 80-year-old thought processes and technology from our society in 2023. And the truth of the matter is it is a completely different landscape
yeah.
today than it was. And I think that is a powerful message that you, Jill, you can deliver not only to our millennials, Gen Xers, and baby boomers, but also to our young people, to let them know that, hey, look, I know this is being pushed by your high school. I know this is being pushed by your guidance counselors, and it's not their fault. I'm not here to attack them. I'm just here to remind you that you have another choice, that there are other options, and you may be able to get the education that you want and need to build a business, a futuristic business, a business that's going to be leveraging technology and skills and internet marketing to be able to work from home and to be able to travel and live the life that you really want to live, versus spending God knows how many years in university, coming out with 6 figures in student loan debt, and then having a job that you are tied to a physical building, working for a boss that you hate. Who better to share that message than you, Jill? So I think that for you, the biggest thing that you can double down on in your marketing is not only being yourself and speaking your truth and sharing what is real and true for you, but being more passionate about it. Don't be afraid to show some personality, because that's what's going to get people attracted and stopping their scroll on a baby boomer like yourself. When they see you on Instagram and TikTok, is you out there being passionate about your message and not just sitting there meek and mild, right? I mean, you can deliver it however you want, but don't be afraid to be a little bit eccentric to get people's attention and wake them up to this wonderful knowledge and experience that you really have a specialized tenure in. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And thank you, because I do struggle with that in my videos. It's, because I'm just a talking head. I'm not gonna dance around that screen. I'm sorry. And God knows I am eccentric, but that's it. That was the other thing. After the technology piece, it was doing the videos that was the next new terror for me, because I don't consider myself terribly camera ready. So it was like, I'm relatively quite shy, although my friends would disagree. But so that's been the other challenge is, kind of letting my personality, through. But you're absolutely right. It's nothing worse than, I just, some of those kids that, went to college, and I knew that they wouldn't make it because they didn't have the discipline to adjust through even freshman year. So they were going to waste money up front and then go do something else.
Wow.
And the other thing is here's the other reality is that when you start college, the thing you don't even know, because kids don't know. They think they know, but they don't know. So when you start, the job that you're training for doesn't exist yet. We are in such a rapidly changing society and technology and culture that what you're going to end up doing has nothing to do with what you're studied. So it becomes pointless to a degree. You can learn what you want to learn on the internet, basically, on YouTube and places like that. It's really true. So thank you, Dave. I will take that very much to heart and spice up my videos.
Yeah, and I'm sure that it's been a adjustment for you as well as it is for everybody else to get on camera,
Oh,
and we can tend to be quite shy. Obviously, and shy, reserved, holding back. I mean, as eccentric as I am, and you see me throwing hats and doing all this, this is part of the this is part of how I get and keep attention, is by letting all of my energy out and really performing. But I guess you could call it a performance. You could also just call it
yeah.
being totally just being totally open, both with my words, with my emotions. And when I do that, it really comes through on camera.
It
And
does.
that's one of the things. Many of you are also only holding your phones like this. And
Hmm.
it oftentimes can be difficult to really be eccentric and emotional and let all of your vibe out, because you need your hands. You need your hands. So many of you, it would benefit you to get a little tripod
Yeah.
and set your camera up so you can talk to it like you would talk to a friend. So you can use your hands, you can use your body. Emotion follows motion. It follows motion. And so if I'm not wanting to shake the camera because I'm holding it, then I'm losing a lot of my ability to be physical and use my physicality in my videos. And that is a huge part of coming across and getting your point across. Because remember, we don't have all of the sensory items that we have in real life. They can't see a 3D picture of us like in real life. They can only see a 2D. It's only on the screen, right?
Right. Right.
Um, they're not going to get the smells. They're not going to get some of the sounds that you would get from the echo and the background. It's coming through on a speaker. So we have to do everything that we can do if we're doing talking head videos like you're talking about and like you do,
Hmm.
and like I do as well. They're the best to connect with people. They're the best to drive your point home. But I think so many of us are being too reserved in our videos. And
Yeah.
nowadays, people are, we have high tolerance levels for entertainment. We're looking for sensationalism. We need extreme, visuals in audios. And so when we just kind of come through and just talk to the camera and we're holding it and we're just being very reserved, it's not going to be as entertaining. And while you might be educating people, that's only one half of the edutainment pie. The entertainment does not it's not. When I say that, I don't mean telling jokes and being witty. I mean the delivery of the education that you're giving, sort of like a teacher in a classroom who just stands up at the front of the classroom and is very boring and very flat, versus a teacher who gets up, who walks around the classroom, who uses tonality, who one of the biggest takeaways I had at the mastermind this weekend was remembering how powerful tone can be,
Yeah.
and using pauses and changing the tempo of how I'm talking, not particularly what I'm saying, but how I'm talking. Your voice is sort of like a song, and songs have low, slow points with build-ups, and those build-ups, sometimes they get faster and they get faster. And if you're telling a story or you're wanting to really get people engaged, I can go from slow to fast and get people excited. And now all of a sudden we're leaning in, but then we're slowing down and we're getting people, we're softening our tone. That is all from body language and body movement to leaning in, getting close to the camera. One of the reasons why I use just my computer here on Wake Up Legendary is so I can get close to the camera. I like how you're sitting this morning, because the closer to the camera your face is, the more engaging you are.
Yeah.
But I can also move away from the camera and come back. So all of these little tips have nothing to do with what you're saying. They have everything to do with how we're saying it, and it can really change the game in terms of our engagement. So am I right in assuming that it's been an adjustment for you to be on camera?
Oh God, yeah. I mean, I do have a tripod. I say I live in a condo, so I have limited lighting, and those ring things I have, but I basically park myself in front of a window with my phone on a tripod. And but yeah, so yeah, you've given me some I struggle with, like, I have to grin like an idiot just to counteract the resting bitch face that I have. I mean, if I'm just relaxed, I look like I just lost my puppy. It's just terrible. I have to grin like an idiot all the time just to look like I'm not ready to kill you. So
That's
it's
funny.
just a
That's
struggle,
really funny.
Dave. I'm telling you.
That's I love that. And Jill, that's the kind of self-deprecating humor that works really, really well in videos. When
Yeah.
we can, especially when we're giving advice and we're telling people what to do or that we have a better way. Sometimes we can, if we don't use some self-deprecating humor, if we don't reveal some vulnerable parts about ourselves and our story, we can come off as we know better than they do. And that can be a dangerous way to lose people. So using self-deprecating humor, that was really funny. And I also want to remind everybody that those are the exact, I mean, one of the reasons why I've always said for 850 episodes, I pick a shirt up and off the floor and just throw it on in the morning and, remind people I'm a high school dropout and all. That's not because I enjoy telling the same story over and over again. It's because I use certain parts of who I am and my story in order to lower the way I think about myself, to not be so self-important. And then if I deliver valuable, useful information, it's more easier heard when I'm either making fun of myself, poking fun of myself, using self-deprecating humor, reminding people that I am also I've for years joked on myself about being a tech idiot. I can't sync my computer up with my phone and get my calendar, where I add one thing and then it shows up on another. I say that to people, and I use that often in my talking points because I want people to know that I don't feel like I am more important or more right. So although that was funny and you were saying that to be funny, and it really was, that is
It's
also
true.
well, I know, and I love it. And I want you to use more of that in your content. I want you to poke more fun at yourself. I want, those of you who are old or older, use that to your advantage. Poke fun at yourself. Just like me. I mean, being a construction worker, being a high school dropout, I'm constantly poking fun at myself so that is how I turn my mess into a message. That is how I turn a lot of people look at as struggles into my strengths.
Yeah, that's important. That hasn't been an easy breezy life. I can tell you, there's lots of material there to pull from, for
Sure.
sure. But I've always, I had to learn as a school counselor, because I have very funny parents. When they were alive, they were hysterical, and some of that rubbed off. But I used to use humor all the time, and because I worked in such a toxic school environment, they beat that out of me, in essence. So the other counselor and I, we certainly had what we would call gallows humor, you know. when we would chat with each other. But yeah, so I have, because it's a quirky sense of humor. It's not everybody's cup of tea, I don't think. What I find funny, because I find humor in almost everything
Yeah.
that happens. So, I told a story on one of my reels the other day about, years ago. And this wasn't anything I did that was funny, but years and years ago, I worked at the local ski resort one winter and at the ski school desk. And so I sold ski packages with lessons and equipment and stuff. And so I had this lady that came to the ski school desk one day, and she was a never ever. Never evers are people that have never ever skied. And so she bought a package, and her lesson was the next day. She came in, and she's okay. She's all very excited. I'm here. I'm ready for my lesson. I said, all right, like, you're going to just go out this door right here, and your instructor's going to find you. There's a little area right there. So she's clutching her skis. And she says to me, outside. I have to go outside. My lesson is outside. And I said, well, yeah, that's where we keep the snow. We're going to put you on the skis, and you're going to learn how to ski under control and safely. She said, oh my God, I thought I could just watch a video. I'm there, no, you got to go. You got to go, ladies. I think she lost a bet. And so off she trailed out. I never saw her again, but I'm assuming she lived through it. So yeah, I mean, I have a ton of stories. I can't really talk about my students, although I'd love to, because man alive, I've got some characters that I could share.
Well, you actually can, the same way that a therapist can talk about their clients by not giving their name.
Identifying
Very
there.
correct.
Vermont is a small place, Dave. We all know each other.
Well, I
only a
understand.
couple of degrees of separation here. But yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Right. We're not sharing people's traumatic stories, their personal traumas or things like that. But look, there's so many things, my friends. And ultimately, it boils down to this. It's very simple. Your income in sales and marketing is simply capped by your creativity. That's it. So that's it. So, I mean, we can choose not to share the gold that we have from our life and the experiences that we have from our life. And I often, feel the same way about grandparents and so forth, and even parents who, don't figure out and try to use all their life wisdom to communicate that in a loving and fun way to their kids and grandkids. That's always a choice, right? It's always, we all have a choice. Do we want to try to communicate our wisdom, our experience, the same way that it takes a little bit of work and creativity to share stories in our marketing? It's the same way that it takes work and creativity to share stories with our kids and grandkids. But we either get the payoff or we don't. We either get the reward or we don't, So each one of us has valuable life experience and valuable stories to share in our marketing. And there's always ways, safe ways, respectful ways to do that. And, each one of us has to make that choice, how much we want to, make an effort to try that. And when you do, and I call it spraying the old WD-40 up in the brain, and we get those creative juices flowing, a lot of times we begin to see in our everyday life how things that happen, things that we hear, things that we see, we can also turn into content.
Yeah, I've done that.
It's about learning how to filter things that are happening in our life into lessons. And that is all it is it's just like a teacher. And I said this to a person at the mastermind just this last weekend, and I'll share it here, that in this world, especially the online information world, but it's sort of like this everywhere in life, you are either the student or the teacher. Okay? The student pays and the teacher gets paid. It's just that simple.
Right.
So you are either, and for all of those of you who think you need another course or another coaching program or to do more, or you're not ready to launch yet, you can spend your time in that student's chair. You can spend as much time as you want in that student's chair. But just remember that as the student, you will pay. As the teacher, you will get paid. And Every teacher doesn't know how to be a teacher when they walk into that classroom. Think about a brand new teacher who's going in to teach on the first day of school in their first year. They don't know what to do. They don't know what to say. They don't know what to expect. And they're getting paid a lot less than we have an opportunity to be able to make, right? As you know,
Right.
public school system.
Right.
But you know what? Teachers have to use creativity. Teachers have to figure out ways to keep their students engaged. Teachers have to figure out, the best teachers are the ones who bring life lessons and stories and experiences and use them in their lessons. That's what makes a great teacher a great teacher. And so each one of us, that is what we are doing. We are teaching people, no matter what niche we're in, how to take their problems and turn that pain into pleasure. That's the bottom line. We're helping them to find solutions for their problems. That's what we do. It's the same thing that you did as a counselor. It's just a different format. And so, that's some food for thought for those of you who are, thinking that it's too hard to get into that teacher role, thinking that, looking at other people the same way that a brand new teacher would come in. Would that brand new teacher who just graduated, who's walking into that classroom for the first day on the first year of teaching, would that brand new teacher look at all the teachers that have been there for 20 and 30 years and say, well, I can't do this because they've been here? No, you get your first day. You get your first weekend. You put your time in. You figure it out, right? You wouldn't turn around and leave those kids with no teacher. That's your job. But see, we do it when it's a job, when somebody's paying us for our time, when we've got a boss who tells us what to do and there's consequences, but we won't do it for ourselves.
That's true. That's true.
Very true. It's
Yeah.
very true. And I've seen it for 13 years, and it's okay. It's just an adjustment that we have to make. And sometimes it's all about perspective. Jill,
Yeah.
what have you learned about yourself over the past months leading up to it? What have you learned about you, or been reminded about who you are, what you're capable of, or whatever else comes up for you throughout this journey?
Oh man, it's because it's been a trip. I've always known that I was stubborn and that I was determined, but there were times when I have, with my other MLM business, but just like, this is never going to work. I'm never going to make this work for me. I don't have that sense this time. I've made a couple of big commissions recently, which I'm just like, if I could do a dance for you, I would. And so that has really, I'm just really jazzed about that. And and it helps my mindset. For me, how I perceive I don't know, everything, I think, really. But how I perceive my jobs and how I perceive this business is a make or break thing. And how you think about it is how you're going to bring about. I mean, I'm a big meditator, and I used to teach mindfulness to students, and I've taken mindfulness classes and stuff. And so I've been trying to incorporate more of that, because I wasn't doing that at all initially, because I was so focused on the technology and getting things to work, and was I doing this right, and how are my videos, and blah blah. So now I think I've started to get to a point where things are becoming a little more consistent. I've seen some success, and I absolutely know this will work for me, that this is going to work for me, that I can make good money, that I will be able to retire and just do this for as long as I choose to do it. So for me, it's been like, oh God, I can relax a bit, because it's such a struggle. And I've been doing reels lately sharing that, this Christmas, this holiday season is the first Christmas in forever that I've actually been able to go out and get gifts for my friends and my family without racking up some credit card bill that I'm not going to be able to pay off in the next year. And so just not having that stress, Dave, and being able to enjoy the season. And that's all because of this, I refuse to call it a side hustle. To me, it's a business. I am a business owner here, I own my own business and I'm making it work, and I'm learning as I go, and I make mistakes and I learn from my mistakes, hopefully, and I do it better the next time. And, that's kind of what I've been telling my audience is that, what I can only be honest and upfront with you. If I don't have integrity and honesty with you, go listen to someone else because I'm full of shit, and so that's kind of what I've been doing. And it's just a question of rinse and repeat and rinse and repeat, I think a lot. But yeah, that's what I've learned. I'm in the sunshine here. I got to move. So that's what I've learned, I think, about myself is that I can do this where I haven't always been successful in the past doing things. I'm stubborn as they come and I'm determined. You're just not going to get rid of me. I'm sorry. I'll be around for a while.
Well, we love having you, and it's been a
Well,
pleasure.
this has been fun.
Oh, for sure. So many important points have come up today, and so many things that matter so much for all ages to hear. But a huge, big, loud, blowhorn to everybody who thinks that, age is something that should or obviously it can stop you, but
Mhm.
you don't have to let it. And also for those of you who think you're too young, I actually came into this world and thought I was too young. And I had very little ability to be able to persuade and influence people, and I did not have the life experience and communication skills that I now have as a middle-aged man. And so we can always focus on what we don't have, and what our deficiencies are. But the truth is that there's just as many assets. And as August says here in the comments, Jill is very real and believable, very powerful. And so many wonderful comments. Great interview. Way to go, Jill. Love it. Jill, thanks for coming on. Thank you for your honesty. Steve said, this is one of the standout lives. Um, I love this, and it's so beautiful. Thank you for the insight and message today, Jill. Jill, thank you for sharing your attributes and even weaknesses. It is inspirational. I followed you, Jill. I'm going to check out your vids today.
Yeah, I haven't done them yet.
Lots of powerful nuggets and wisdom. Just so many wonderful, comments and validation for you and feedback for you that you are really hitting home for people, and people are resonating and getting value and inspiration.
Oh,
And so,
thanks.
yeah, thank you. Thank you
Oh,
for coming on this and spending your morning with us. And come back and see me very soon, Jill, and keep me
oh,
posted on your journey, okay?
I will. Thank you, Dave, so much. It's been a pleasure.
All right, my friend. Talk to you later.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, my dear friends. Thank you so much for all of the lovely feedback and making this show, a pleasure to host, and also easy, or as easy it can be, right? It can be nerve-wracking coming on here, but a little bit more comfortable for our guests because they are putting themselves out there, and oftentimes in the process of growing right in front of us, which I love to be a part of. So go and check Jill out. You can find her at Jill, and I'm going to spell her last name, Tofferi, Jill, Tofferi. You can find her on Instagram and on TikTok at that handle. And yes, thank you all so much. Thank you for the wonderful comments. They're continuing to come in. And Gail says, this was so worthwhile. Thank you. Awesome. Um, just so many hearts and thank you. So Jill, I hope you take that all in, and my friends, we will be back here tomorrow as always for another episode. If you're new here, and you are going through the challenge, finish, right? Take it all in. If you are diving into our blueprints, then learn, soak it all up, ask questions, and most of all, apply, 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 apply. Take action, course correct as you go. You don't have to be married to anything. You can adjust as you go. You can always take things down or two steps forward, one step back, but you have to be going, moving forward, right? And that is going to be the most important part of this journey for all of you and me included, to continue to keep moving forward, course correcting as we go. It is never a straight line. It's always a squiggly line to get to our destination. And once you get to that destination, there will be another destination. So don't be so obsessed about getting to the top of the mountain. It's the journey that counts. It's the growth process. It's obviously the results along the way, but don't be so obsessed about the destination because, like I said, there will be new destinations once you reach those particular goals. And so that's all for us. This episode is a wrap. We'll see you back here tomorrow for another episode of Wake Up Legendary, the best marketing show on the internet. Thanks again, Jill. And we'll see you all tomorrow. Have a blessed day, stay legendary, and get out of here.